back. This is Adim and this is Check Out the Check. This week I'm gonna do something different. I wanted to talk to you guys. I know, in previous videos I had talked about, some of the stuff that brought me here, and also kind of figure out how I can come across to you guys and what knowledge that I had that can help you out. And one of the things that, in these last few months, that I decided to dabble in would be stocks. Stocks definitely has been something that always interests me. I always liked the idea of owning a part of a business, a multi-billion dollar, multinational business. And stocks allow you to own parts of it. Not very big parts, but definitely significant parts of it. And as that stock does good, and as that company does good, the amount of money that you invested does well. One thing that I do like about stocks is that definitely you don't have to have a lot to start. In a lot of investments, you have to have a significant amount of money, either to get a loan, either to pay for a whole business, pay for something to flip. In stocks, you don't need that much. Before I get into it, I had mentioned before how I had turned around 3,500 into 16 grand during this whole pandemic. And I kind of wanted to give you kind of the step-by-step of how I did it. But before I get into that, once again, guys, subscribe. Definitely want to give you guys a lot of information. Got a lot of good interviews coming up. People just like you, just starting out. Definitely don't have all the experience, but definitely can point you in the right direction. So subscribe, hit the notification bell, and and definitely comment, like. That definitely help out the growing channel. And definitely I'm at the stage where I'm reading all the comments. I'm definitely in tune with the channel, and I appreciate all you guys for just giving me a second to grab your attention. Before I get into what I did, I definitely want to talk about just starting out and some things that you should look out for, and some tips to just start before you do anything. Number one would be just understand your overall budget. And I know, based on the title, you're looking at it and you're saying like, oh man, he's talking about budgets and stuff like that. But the reason I talk about it, and the reason so many other YouTubers talk about it, because it is so important. Understanding how much money you have going out every month, how much you have to spare, how much you have left over, how much you have to save, is very important. There is nothing worse than working all year in a job that maybe you don't even necessarily like, but you're doing it. And looking at your savings account, looking at your check account, and there's nothing there. It looks the exact same as it did in January as it does in December. Nothing worse than that. You almost feel like a year wasted. I worked all year to pay bills, and that's definitely not something that we all strive for. So I would definitely say, get your budget in order. Understand that, living below your means at this point doesn't necessarily mean it'll be like that forever. But if you can get your budget in order, you can get in a situation where you understand how much is going out, then you have an idea of how much you can invest. And I don't really care starting out how much you have to invest, but it's important that you have something. So number two would definitely be, fractional shares. Being in a situation where you don't necessarily need to afford the whole stock, which is basically a part of a company. You're only a part of the company, but as that company does good, you still can benefit from the same type of percentage gains that you would if you own the whole share. A good, tool about this is Robinhood. They offer fractional shares to where share of Tesla could be, I think around this time it's around like over $400. You can buy $100 worth of Tesla, and if it goes up by 25%, you still would go up by 25%. Also saving money. Saving money allows you to be in a situation where stocks is one of those things where it'll never grow as fast as you want it to. I don't care how fast it's growing. There's gonna be a situation that comes up that you're gonna need the money. And the longer you can wait when it comes to stocks, usually the better. So I would definitely say having that nest egg, using fractional shares, understanding your budget, are just some things to just look out for before you start. These things, while they seem like boring and not sexy and things like that, they are really the foundation. I didn't really start to grow until I implemented these type of things into it. And once you do it, the rest is just easy. And it's just that simple. A lot of people won't tell you that. A lot of people won't tell you that you need to be in a certain situation before you start. Maybe they'll say, before you pay down debt, take that money and risk it and try to make something grow. And that can work out, but you can be in a situation where it doesn't. Number four would definitely be only invest in things you understand. And you can read countless books, you can look at countless YouTube videos, they're going to tell you the same thing because it's so important. When investing in stocks and business in general, you're investing in a business essentially. There are so many things that can affect that business. News, government, supplies, demand for a particular product. At this point, we have billion-dollar companies being affected by their image socially, Black Lives Matter and such. So definitely you want to invest in things you understand. One of the main things that I invested in that really started to turn the corner was I've been selling cars for a long time. I invested in Tesla because that's kind of where I saw the market going. I understood their model and I knew it compared to a lot of their competitors' model because I was the competitor. And me understanding that allowed me to understand, hey look, these guys are just going to take off. You have to be in a situation where you understand what you're seeing, because a lot of people can get lucky with the stock market, but if you want to win over time, you have to be able to see certain patterns, and the more you understand about that industry, the better. And the last tip that I have before I get into it would be definitely there are trading platforms, and none come to mind right now, that allow you to invest using fake money. I like that because it allows you to see the market over days and months. Understanding how certain things affect certain companies. Like I said before, you want to invest in what you know, but when you can see how different news, how different days, how different times of the year, how different products can affect companies that you're investing in, you're going to be a lot better at investing than somebody who's just coming in and just picking this one because they had a good Wednesday, or picking this one because they saw a card and they liked it. So the more you become familiar with the market, the more you'll understand, and the better you'll usually do over time. So those would be my tips to try to figure out what you want to do. I'm going to get into what happened with me and how I turned 35 and 16 grand coming up. I want to tell you guys, basically how I was able to turn about 2,500 essentially, and later on 3,500 and 16 grand. So like I said in my welcome video, and I'll have some links below, and I can kind of, that kind of tells you, I had just been laid off from my job, and I always wanted to get into stocks and things like that. So I decided to give myself a shot and do that. What I use is called leverage. Most brokerages will offer it to you if you have a certain amount of money in your account. For TD Ameritrade, which is what I used, it was about $2,000 at the time. And what it does is it lets you take your $2,000 of your money and also use $2,000 of TD Ameritrade's money. A lot of times people feel like, with stocks, they might see their money go up and things like that, but they feel like it's not that fast. What leverage allows you to do is basically grow your money faster. Now it's a lot more risk inherent because you're using the company's money. And when it comes to their money, they're going to make sure they get their money first. So if you're in a situation, you bet on the stock, you use their money, and it's a loser, you lose your money. When you use leverage, well, you lose your money and the brokerage's money, and they're going to take their money out before they pay you. And they'll issue what's called margin calls, which is basically saying like, hey, look, you picked the stock, it did bad, and we need you to deposit more money into this account because we're not going to lose our money. And they can do 30. So it's inherently more risky. It wasn't too bad for me because I had did previously what's called option trading, which I liked. It was interesting. It's more risky, and this time around, being that I didn't have a job or anything like that, I decided to go with what I felt like was a little bit less risk. Now it is risky margin, but it's not quite as risky as options, which I'll get into. But we'll definitely go into that. So starting out, it was like late March, and this is around the time where the market is just down. It's down. Everybody's losing money. All these people that had shorted Tesla and all these companies that I was interested in, and shorting is basically where you basically bet money against the stock. A lot of people don't realize. A lot of people think that you have to pick a stock and it has to do well. You can short a stock, and if it does bad, it's like you're taking an insurance policy. So when you get paid off when that company does bad, it's almost like when you have an accident in your car. You have an insurance policy to basically step in and say, okay, you had an accident, we're going to pay you money because you took a policy out with us. But also too, if the company does good, then you're making payments on it. So it's like just like with your insurance, with your car insurance, you're in a situation where it's like, okay, I'm gonna give you money this month. Oh, nothing happened, pay us again. Well, nothing happened, pay us again. So if the company doesn't do bad, then you're stuck. But if you short a stock, then and it does bad, then that's when you get paid. Vice versa, you buy a stock, you hope it does well, and you get paid when it does well. So all these companies are doing bad and things like that. Now, I had been looking at stocks. I was working, pretty hard. I had been looking at stocks since December of 2019, and that's when I got into a couple options and things like that. And then Tesla did pretty well in the beginning, and I was able to make a little bit of money. Nothing major, but I was able to make a little bit of money playing some options and things like that. But at the time, Tesla was creeping up around, close to, not to, but in the area of $1,000. Now, it didn't make it to it because that crash happened. But I was seeing it, and it was trading around low. It was maybe like around $300 or something like that, and a share. And me knowing it and me watching it for as long as I tell you to, familiarize yourself with the market, I'm like, it cannot stay this low for this long. This company is doing well. Its products are well received. You see them everywhere. They have a great branding. This company is undervalued. For Tesla. Now we'll get into techs and things like that. But Tesla is just one of them stocks, and if you trade and things like that, they make monumental jumps. So for them to be around like $300 at the time, I'm thinking to myself, if it just gets back to where it was, I'm doubling my money. So I took about like $2,500 and I put it in my TD Ameritrade account, and I buy a bunch of Tesla, I buy a bunch of Apple. These are companies that were doing bad, and they just started to go up. And the crazy thing is, while they were going up, I wasn't doing the option play. I was just marginalizing. So basically, I was buying about $5,000 worth of Tesla with $2,500 worth of money. So as it went up, it goes up exponentially. I'm using that leverage money to make more money for myself. Now, it's very risky. I definitely wouldn't recommend it to just anybody, but it's a way to kind of boost your account when it's small, to get into a situation where you can make some money. And the crazy thing is like when your money's growing like that, you want to look at it all day, every day, every day. I'm gonna tell you, like, the stock between when I started and a few months later, it went up like 5 times. If I literally just bought it at the leverage amount that I had it at, I would have probably $25,000. But you watch stocks and you feel like you're getting smart and you want to move it over here, move it over there, move it over there. Most stocks like that, man, you leave them alone. That's when you're gonna make the most money. At this point, my money basically triples, and I'm sitting around like $7,500 and things like that. And playing with it, get it around 10. And at this moment, I'm just sending like links and I'm sending screenshots to my friends. I'm like, hey, look, get in on this. I'm telling you. And they would see these things and they were thinking like, okay, that's good. They would see me at like 4,000. They're like, all right, that's cool, I guess, whatever. And then they see me at 6,000 and they were like, all right, whatever. Then they see me at like 7,000 and they're like, dude, what the heck's going on? But it's probably too late. You know what I'm saying? I probably can't get in on it. Then they see me at 10,000. They're like, oh my God, what does this do? No. And I'm telling them what to do. They don't do it and they miss out, and it's unfortunate. But eventually they'll come around and say, hey, look, man, show me what's going on. I do have that kind of happening right now, and that's why I kind of made this video. And really just to show you that it's just nothing complicated. I invest in what I know. I take time. I understand what I'm seeing in the market. I understand how certain things affect certain companies, quarterly reports. That's another thing where a lot of people don't know when it comes to companies. A lot of these publicly traded companies, they have what's known as quarterly reports, and judging by how they do on these quarterly reports, which as quarterly report says, they come out 4 times a year. It can really affect the stock price. So if they have a good report, then the stock usually goes up. And when you know when these reports are going to go down, you can kind of plan accordingly. And I took advantage of a couple of those things. So, So you look, so you're doing, if you're doing the math, you're like, okay, that's around 10,000. Like, but you said 16. So how'd you get up to 16? So I'm just, scrolling across Robinhood. Robinhood has what's called top picks and things like that. And you really shouldn't get into it, but I'm getting caught up in it. I'm doing really well, and I'm feeling, I'm feeling myself a little bit. And there's this company, Kodak. Now I know Kodak. They're a company that used to make those disposable cameras back in the day. And for some reason, they make news that they're going into a different field, and their stock is just jumping. And I get into it, and it's around $10, and at this point I had around 10 grand. So I don't recommend this. I put all my money into it. I'm like, hey, look, if it goes to 12, I'm gonna be sitting pretty. It starts to go down. So I said, you know what, I got all my money tied into this, which is why you really should never pick one stock to leverage all your money on, because when you see that thing go down by 10%, 20%, you usually panic. Versus when you're spread out, you're in a situation where if that one stock goes down 10% and the other ones do okay, you won't necessarily jump the fence. And you give that stock a little bit of time to breathe. Sometimes you should jump ship, but it's not really going to be as bad as if you're in a situation where you have all your money leveraged and you're just looking at it all day. And mind you, I don't have no job at this point, so all I'm doing is looking at stocks all day. So it goes down, and I'm like, forget it, I'm out. I'm out, and I sell everything. The next day, I wake up, it's at $18. So literally, if I just kept it there all day, I would have had around $18,000 off of like 3,500 bucks. Pissed. I'm mad at myself, and sometimes what you do, you get emotional with stocks and you buy into it. So I bought into it, and really you shouldn't do this, but this was like an extraordinary case. So I buy into it at 18, and it wasn't necessarily all my money, but that stock later on that day goes up to like 50 bucks. Dude, I am doing somersaults in the house. My account went up like $8,000. You can't tell me shit. I'm thinking about shit I'm gonna buy. Like, I'm thinking about fucking exits I'm gonna fucking call and curse out. Like, I'm just beside myself. So, I've been doing it long enough to know that like it's gonna fall eventually. So later on, I couldn't necessarily cash out at 18. I cashed out at like 16. So that's kind of what it was. But the stock market, it's not really a mystery, guys. It's just about being disciplined. It's about understanding what you're looking at. It's about making predictions based on common sense stuff. Do you see the product everywhere? Is it a good product? Do people like it? Is the company doing well? It's things like that over time that's going to make you a lot of money in the stock market. So definitely don't be afraid to start out small. One thing I will say, I would say in the beginning, invest a couple $100 a month, whatever you can afford. Build your account up, because once I got to around, it was a lot easier for me to make more money when I had like $10,000, $12,000 in the bank in the account, because I only needed to, in order to make a few $100 a day, I only needed it to go positive 2, 3, 4%. Now, when my account was a lot lower, I needed the account to go up by like 10%. But when your account is higher, you needed to go up like 3%, and you had a day that most people didn't make working their whole day in a couple hours. So I would say if you're patient with it, if you let it grow, and then when you get a little bit more money, you want to make a little bit bigger risk, that would be the tolerance. A lot of people jump into it and they want to like double, triple their accounts. Listen, take your time, understand the market, grow your account organically. That way, when them days come to where you're investing and that account moves by 2, 3%, and you've made like $400 or $500 just by sitting at home, those are the days. Forget trying to make all the money, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 in a day or something like that. I've done it. It's great when it happens, but trust and believe, it's something even better when you can sit home and make you a couple $100 not doing nothing, not really even risking anything. So these companies are proven. So, that's just it. If anybody has any questions below, definitely comment below. This has been Hadim. Check out the check. Just drop me some stuff. If it's anything that you feel like I left out, if there's anything that you want to add, let me know. Follow-up videos, I definitely will do some. But hey guys, let's go out here and let's get it together. And this is a Dean checking out.